Protagonist wakes up in a literal warzone, confused and coughing amidst the flames. A mysterious masked tyrant descends on a jetpack demanding answers from the lost hero. Thrust into absolute chaos, he clutches a massive blade trying to comprehend this terrifying reality. This bizarre adventure actually begins back in Seoul over a casual drink with a struggling creator. The struggling novelist named Kim Shin laments his failed career after suffering back-to-back flops. Naming the main character after his own drinking buddy did absolutely nothing to save the failing book. The generic title and overused tropes left readers completely bored with the repetitive fantasy setup. Desperate for a breakthrough, the author asks his companion for a single piece of critical advice. His friend immediately suggests deleting the overused status window that every other fantasy novel relies on. Seoul chuckles heartily at the tragic agony of creative writing. Kim Shin ponders this radical concept of ditching status windows entirely. Removing restrictions sparks a massive wave of fresh brainstorming ideas. A casual friendly chat suddenly takes a highly suspicious turn. An overwhelming wave of deep exhaustion strikes without warning. Gravity drags his helpless body down to the cold concrete floor. Darkness rapidly swallows his remaining consciousness. His supposed friend looms overhead wearing a chillingly sinister grin. Bright morning sunlight forces his heavy eyes open in a quiet room. Chugging freezing water fails to soothe the raging fire in his head. A massive hangover forces him to seek immediate relief elsewhere. The dazed hero ventures out onto the city streets to buy medicine. The scanned medicine costs 5,000 won, but a frantic search reveals his wallet is missing. An intensely blushing cashier suddenly showers him with unexpected compliments about his incredible looks. Chaos deepens when she politely requests payment through a mysterious system called status pay. Flustered by the bizarre transaction, he awkwardly retreats from the convenience store empty-handed. Approaching a dark car on the street, he catches a terrifyingly unfamiliar reflection in the window glass. Adjusting the side mirror reveals a jaw-dropping face boasting flawless features fit for a top model. Staring in pure disbelief, he strikes a pose to admire this ridiculously handsome new body. A sudden self-inflicted punch delivers real pain, proving that this crazy nightmare is actually reality. Looking up at the colossal trunk, he instantly recognizes the mythical world tree from his friend's novel. Nearby kids boast about their academy dreams by instantly summoning their very own status windows and weapons. Cruel mockery about a cheap weapon brings the emotional boy to tears as he remembers his grandmother's sweet gift. He furiously hurls the mace away only for it to hilariously bonk an innocent pigeon right on the head. Hearing talk of the World Tree Festival makes him realize that the main story has only just begun. He resolves to follow the original plot perfectly as he steps into the grand festival grounds. This crucial starting event is where he must awaken the legendary S-rank ability that multiplies growth 9 times faster. A friendly street vendor catches his eye by offering a freshly baked batch of local World Tree leaf bread. After learning the treat costs 2,000 won, his stomach sinks as he remembers his completely empty pockets. The kind woman suggests using status pay, making him realize just how deep this fantasy world building actually goes. Before he can awkwardly run away, the generous merchant shoves the warm bag directly into his hands. Blushing bystanders watch in awe as the sweet lady insists he eat since he reminds her of her own son. This sudden wave of pure kindness makes him believe that this new life might actually be worth living. Little does he know the poor vendor is internally questioning how such a handsome young man can be so utterly broke. Beneath the glowing branches of the giant festival tree, the crowd gathers for the main event. Taking a bite on a nearby bench, he marvels at the rich forest cream of his very first fantasy meal. He happily devours his sweet treat until a group of very familiar faces suddenly catches his eye. The energetic blue-haired beauty Hasian perfectly matches the description of the novel main cast. Accompanying the girl are the smugly smiling Kim Chuljin and the wealthy prodigy Choi Ji-hoon. Meeting them early is highly dangerous because they only unite during the tragic World Tree Massacre. Terror grips his heart as he remembers exactly how the legendary S-rank awakening ritual actually begins. A colossal explosion rips through the peaceful festival grounds, scattering fire and absolute panic everywhere. Heat waves hit his face as screams of pure agony ring out through the thick, suffocating smoke. Realizing he must survive these brutal events firsthand sends a chilling shiver straight down his spine. Chilling villainous laughter echoes from above, mocking the helpless crowd caught in the blazing inferno. A menacing figure descends on a high-tech hoverboard promising a twisted version of enlightenment to the panicked crowd. Mechanical armor and madness-filled goggles wrap the bizarre tyrant in an aura of pure terror. Chilling laughter echoes through the smoke as the mechanical monster revels in the chaotic destruction. Realization strikes like lightning as the legendary World Tree Massacre officially begins right before his eyes. Brave Academy students spring into action shouting orders and rushing to evacuate the injured citizens from the fire. Absolute terror replaces his initial excitement about transmigration as the brutal reality of this novel sinks in. Thick smoke and blazing heat prove that surviving this chaotic warzone will be a completely different beast than reading it. Nearby, a confident student summons his status window to prepare for an immediate counterattack. Equipping the mythical Aquamarines embrace a powerful prodigy unleashes a blinding surge of elemental magic into the sky. Furious fighters assemble to challenge the hovering tyrant who merely stares down at his new challengers with amusement. S-rank superhumans from elite guilds arrive to protect the panicked civilians. The terrified protagonist instantly realizes the mad villain has a far more sinister objective in mind. The armored madman chuckles maniacally as he reveals that his true target is every single soul in the plaza. With a swift click of his mechanical glove, a bizarre red device begins to hum with terrifying energy. Brave defenders instantly activate their legendary skills to crush the descending threat. A sudden digital glitch tears through the air as their bright holy magic violently shatters apart. Panic spreads like wildfire when the desperate fighters realize their crucial status windows refuse to open. The villain mockingly sneers at humanity for relying so heavily on a system that he can easily dismantle. He proudly unleashes his ultimate creation, the status disruptor, to strip away everyone's unfair powers. A massive crimson shockwave erupts across the entire city, locking down all magic in one swift strike. The cold-hearted tyrant mockingly sneers at the fallen champions whose borrowed powers have completely vanished. Our hiding protagonist desperately recalls the original plot of the novel, where the main hero must now intervene. Spheres of light drop to the earth as innocent civilians collapse in a wave of terrifying destruction. Absolute panic grips his soul as he realizes his own mortality in this brutally unforgiving world. Defeated warriors beg for their lives on the cold pavement as the merciless villain looms overhead. Suddenly, the desperate prodigy Choi Ji-hoon swings a massive blade in one final attempt to strike the tyrant. With effortless speed, the armored monster delivers a brutal kick that sends the hero flying backward. The villain praises his incredible willpower and decides this rare survivor is worthy of dark research. He retreats in absolute panic, convincing himself that this fictional world will somehow fix its own deadly problems. A tragic sight stops him in his tracks as he spots the kind bread vendor lying motionless on the dirty ground. An overwhelming wave of pure shock paralyzes his body as his heart beats frantically in his chest. Outside the massive Crimson Barrier, elite guild leaders watch in horror as they lose all connection to their allies. The sadistic villain laughs maniacally as he prepares to drag the fallen prodigy away for cruel research. Spurred by sudden rage, he clutches the massive sword and steps forward to challenge the mechanical tyrant. A sudden devastating slash catches the high-tech villain completely off guard. Hovering above the flames, the shocked tyrant demands to know why the status lockdown has no effect on him. Sweating under the pressure, our hero panics as the villain suspects an ancient relic is shielding his powers. Crackling energy erupts from the armored gloves of the tyrant, who designates his new target for live research. The fallen prodigy watches in disbelief while the mechanical monster lunges forward to punish a clumsy stance. Blinding glitches coat the giant sword as our hero blocks a heavy blow using raw rank physical strength. Trembling under the immense weight, he gasps as the nimble tyrant instantly shifts to deliver a follow-up strike. A devastating blast of energy erupts from the armored tyrant, sending our hero crashing backward. Shattered and bleeding on the cold pavement, he realizes the terrifying reality of his own mortality. The mechanical monster lifts his helpless body by the throat to inspect him closely. Evil laughter echoes as the sadistic villain realizes he has uncovered a massive loophole in the system. Taking off on his hoverboard, the madman vows to dissect his brand new specimen immediately. Summoning every ounce of his remaining strength, our hero delivers a devastating kick to break the chokehold. Gravity takes hold as he plummets through the air while the tyrant flies away into the smoky sky. Falling toward the burning plaza, he closes his eyes, ready to accept the tragic end of his short journey. Infinite system errors violently hijack the interface as a colossal digital glitch erupts. Enveloped in a brilliant emerald light, he floats inside a mysterious void as his true power finally awakens. Floating in the mysterious void, he looks down at his hands as the intense pain suddenly vanishes. Suddenly, a majestic elven spirit appears behind him, whispering ancient runic words of power. The glowing goddess gently offers him a brilliant orb of pure emerald energy. Reaching out to accept the divine gift, the raw power of the world tree flows directly into his palm. Blinding light erupts as the legendary weapon of the elves materializes in a surge of holy energy. Back in the real world, the armored villain trembles in absolute shock at this impossible anomaly. Colossal green energy erupts from the mythical world tree to protect its new champion. Descending slowly through the flames, our hero emerges with a terrifyingly calm expression. Gripping the celestial golden bow, he draws back a devastating arrow of pure light with flawless focus. The mad scientist laughs maniacally as he realizes his forbidden research is finally proven correct. Blinding emerald power surges from the mythical bow as he prepares to unleash the ultimate strike. The devastating projectile tears through the sky towards the completely stunned mechanical tyrant. A direct hit pierces clean through the advanced armor and targets the critical status disruptor. Violent sparks erupt into a colossal explosion that shatters the oppressive crimson barrier. Desperate and bleeding, the young prodigy slowly looks up to witness a savior floating in the sky. Blurry vision fades to black as the exhausted warrior finally collapses onto the hard pavement. Divine magic slowly dissipates as our tired hero descends gently back to the ruined plaza grounds. With his remaining strength completely depleted, he plummets unconscious amidst the falling leaves. As the lockdown signal completely vanishes, elite reinforcement squads instantly storm the battlefield. First responders rush to the scene, confirming massive casualties among elite guild members. Ignoring warnings from her frantic helper, a determined archer runs directly toward the danger zone. She recognizes the signature destructive handiwork of the notorious villain and vows to take him down herself. Suddenly, she freezes in absolute astonishment as the ancient tree radiates a brilliant warm light. Bathing in the divine green glow, the stunned young archer wonders what legendary force has awakened. On the stone floor, she discovers a mysterious unconscious youth resting at the center of a mystical circle. Meanwhile, a chaotic digital interface forcefully activates a unique system vaccine program to stabilize his body. Golden eyes slowly flutter open as consciousness finally returns to his battered body. Sitting up in a clean hospital bed, he clutches his aching head in complete confusion about his location. Waking up in a sterile hospital room, he slowly realizes the deadly battle was not a dream. His chaotic memories swirl with the vivid image of a majestic elven spirit granting him ancient power. That celestial gift allowed him to completely obliterate the mechanical tyrant in one final strike. This bizarre turn of events completely derails the original novel, since his S-rank status window remains locked. Instead of a normal interface, only a terrifying system error echoes endlessly through his mind. A sudden feminine voice breaks the heavy silence as a mysterious visitor enters the medical ward. He gasps in sheer disbelief upon seeing a gorgeous blonde woman standing directly before him. Glowing holographic text immediately identifies her top-tier status and unmatched beauty. His accidental slip of her name leaves the legendary beauty completely frozen in shock. He instantly panics, knowing she is the wealthy heiress to the most powerful corporation in the world. As a legendary super elite, she conquered the academy ranking with unmatched literary and martial skills. She famously despised the original novel protagonist for possessing a cheat-like S-rank status window. The cold heiress stands before him, pleased that he recognizes her high status at a single glance. She suddenly kneels on the floor and formally addresses him as the legendary elven ancestor. The shocked youth recalls ancient novel lore where various mythical races ruled the earth 10,000 years ago. As he doubts his new status, the beautiful heiress leans in close to point out a strange anomaly on his shoulder. A glowing green mark appears on his skin, symbolizing the divine power of the elves. The smiling beauty gently reassures him that this sacred symbol remains a highly classified secret within her group. She gently tells him there is no need to hide his legendary identity from her anymore. Our hero sweats in panic, realizing the gorgeous heiress has completely misunderstood the entire situation. Suddenly, she grabs his hands and demands to know if he is indeed the legendary savior who defeated the villain. She passionately recounts the myth of the divine champion who awoke from the world tree to banish the dark threat. She explains how her massive corporate intelligence network found absolutely zero records of his existence. Fearing a massive deviation from the original plot, he frantically retreats and denies being an ancient elf. Unfazed by his desperate denial, the heiress turns around and retrieves a mysterious wooden chest. Opening the chest, she presents a legendary family heirloom known as the Forest Tranquility to test his lineage. The sudden appearance of another mythical artifact sends his mind spiraling into absolute chaos. A brilliant idea suddenly sparks in his head to use the ancient relic to easily prove his human status. Smiling confidently, he grabs the golden item, expecting absolutely nothing to happen to his locked status. Suddenly, a blinding surge of emerald energy erupts from the artifact to completely shatter his final hope. Our hero panics as the legendary artifact suddenly unleashes a blinding surge of untamed emerald power. A brilliant green aura instantly engulfs the entire hospital bed as the ancient magic surges through him. He watches in absolute shock as the system triggers massive errors while absorbing the divine energy. A sudden realization hits him as he remembers feeling this exact same sensation right before collapsing. The gorgeous heiress gasps in amazement, pointing directly at his shoulder where the elven mark burns bright. His mind spirals as he wonders why his locked status window is reacting so strongly to a mythical elven relic. He sweats profusely, staring at the starry-eyed heiress who is completely captured by her own imagination. Remembering the original novel plot, he recalls that the mechanical tyrant was the monster who killed her mother. Swallowing his fear, he decides to play along with her massive misunderstanding to secure his own safety. Adopting a cold and mysterious demeanor, he commands the young heiress to keep this secret safe from the world. With absolute confidence, he proudly declares himself to be the legendary elven ancestor she has been seeking. He lies that her mother's soul guided him to defeat the mechanical tyrant, but the battle drained his divine energy. Eager to serve her newfound savior, the emotional heiress rushes off to prepare a grand feast for his recovery. He sighs in relief as the beautiful heiress happily runs out of the room, completely fooled by his lie. Staring down at his hands, he cannot believe the cold and legendary corporate heiress is treating him like a god. Suddenly, a violent wave of digital static violently surges through his body, causing him to scream in pure agony. The ancient elven artifact abruptly rejects his touch and flies onto the bed, releasing a stream of emerald smoke. Numbness spreads through his fingers as he recognizes the familiar magical sensation from his final battle. A vivid memory of the Elven Goddess confirms that he truly wielded the legendary power of her ancient race. Pulling down his collar, he wonders if a secret cheat skill allows him to copy the powers of other mythical races. The wealthy heiress quickly returns, pushing a luxurious cart, and bows deeply to apologize for the short delay. His heart races as the stunning beauty leans in unbelievably close to serve her newly declared savior. She presents an exquisite gourmet soup prepared personally by the elite head chef of the prestigious academy. Hearing her mention the prestigious school sends a massive jolt of pure shock straight through his mind. He frantically questions if they are truly resting inside the elite superhuman academy itself. The gorgeous corporate heiress simply responds with an incredibly sweet and gentle smile. Walking gracefully across the medical suite, she suddenly draws back the heavy dark curtains. Blinding sunlight floods the entire room as the stunned protagonist stares out in absolute wonder. With a theatrical gesture, she warmly welcomes the legendary ancestor to the majestic training grounds. She proudly explains that her family corporation manages this top-tier facility with unmatched technology. A clever grin spreads across his face as he realizes this allows him to stay on the original novel track. He eagerly scarfs down the gourmet meal to instantly restore his depleted energy reserves. Dismissing her worried protests, he swiftly slides out of bed and stands firmly on his own 2 feet. Stepping incredibly close to the gorgeous blonde beauty, he calmly prepares to demand a massive favor. Beyond the window, the legendary island fortress of the academy looms proudly over the deep blue waters. Students whisper in absolute excitement about the legendary corporate heiress enrolling this year. Gasps of admiration echo through the courtyard as the flawless beauty makes her grand entrance. Crowds quickly notice the mysterious youth walking side by side with the famous goddess. Standing in the crowd, a group of elite academy seniors instantly recognize him from the previous crisis. He maintains a calm and mysterious smile, knowing his performance must remain absolutely perfect. The two walk towards the main building as powerful figures watch them from high above the roof. A strange girl wearing a jellyfish hat prepares to welcome the newest class of superhumans. Summoning a brilliant pink aura, she leaps off the high edge and floats gracefully into the air. Descending slowly over the crowded plaza, she officially declares the start of the entrance ceremony. With a bright smile, she encourages the new recruits to unleash their ultimate potential. Our confident hero prepares to finally begin his legendary new life at the elite academy. Whispers spread like wildfire as students turn their attention toward the mysterious handsome newcomer. He flashes a charming smile, completely capturing the hearts of every girl in the vicinity. That proud confidence instantly shatters as he checks his newly unlocked status window. Despair washes over him as he realizes every single one of his stats is ranked at the absolute lowest tier. The Elite Superhuman Academy entrance exam is divided into 3 grueling parts, starting with basic stats. Our protagonist completely fails every physical test, landing a humiliating triple F rank across the board. He collapses in total despair while nearby students mock his pathetic performance without mercy. His perfect plan of a peaceful school life completely shatters as he desperately looks around for a miracle. Suddenly, a massive wave of pure mana erupts as the gorgeous blonde heiress easily scores a legendary B rank. Shocked onlookers watch in absolute awe, warning each other to never cross paths with the elite corporate heiress. She completely ignores the whispering crowd and happily waves directly at our shocked protagonist. The beautiful heiress flashes a sweet and innocent smile that radiates pure joy. Her adorable behavior sends a massive jolt of panic straight through our sweating protagonist. Jealous classmates instantly corner him to demand explanations about his relationship with the school goddess. He quickly tries to laugh it off as the sneering crowd wonders how a loser even entered the academy. A sudden heavy silence falls over the plaza as the cold blonde beauty walks directly toward the group. One arrogant senior eagerly steps forward and reaches out to congratulate her on a legendary performance. An icy glare of pure disgust instantly covers her flawless face as she stares down at his outstretched hand. Pure psychological terror strikes the foolish student like a sudden bolt of lightning. She immediately turns back to our hero with a lovely smile while the traumatized student is dragged away. The senior examiner officially concludes the physical portion to initiate the next phase. Desks fill the massive hall as the recruits prepare to face the grueling written theory portion. An imposing elder warns the crowd that raw power is completely useless without intellect to guide it. Groans of despair echo through the room as students realize the questions are impossibly difficult. Our protagonist recalls that the original story never detailed this exam since the main character easily bypassed it. Gripping his digital pen with fierce determination, he vows to crush this test to save his failing reputation. The youth begins the examination with fierce focus as he grips his digital pen. Shock washes over him as his hand suddenly moves on its own to solve the complex questions at lightspeed. Knowing the original story gives him access to every perfect answer as a confident smile spreads across his face. Suddenly, a violent slam echoes through the hall as a stern examiner catches a cheating student next to him. The intimidating instructor Fabius instantly disqualifies the rule breaker with an icy glare of pure authority. He unleashes a silent binding spell to instantly mute the desperate student protests. Our protagonist calmly steps in and reveals that he has already completed every single question on the paper. The stern instructor narrows his eyes in disbelief, questioning how an F-rank student could finish so quickly. He inspects the answers expecting a joke, but his expression instantly freezes in pure shock. The tense atmosphere thickens as the powerful instructor slowly approaches the desk of our hero. He gets incredibly close and aggressively demands to know the true identity of this hidden genius. Faced with intense pressure, the clever protagonist stays calm, knowing exactly how to manipulate the proud instructor. A slow, confident smirk spreads across his face as he prepares to deliver a legendary declaration. Boldly standing before the powerful instructor, he proudly announces his name and his ultimate destiny to become the greatest. He locks eyes with the stunned teacher and challenges him to watch his legendary rise to the absolute peak. The tough examiner smiles in pure admiration at the incredible spirit burning within this mysterious youth. Knowing he successfully manipulated the situation, the clever hero celebrates his massive mental victory. Confident in his knowledge of the original plot, he smiles knowing he can easily conquer this world without high stats. Pandemonium erupts outside the main hall as students gather to witness the newly released test results. Shock waves ripple through the crowd as they notice a perfect score sitting at the very top of the leaderboard. Standing proudly at the absolute top of the class, our hero confirms his flawless victory in the written theory portion. He prepares his mind for the final challenge, knowing this theory victory is only the beginning of his trial. A flamboyant instructor steps forward, summoning a vibrant wave of blue magical energy from his fingertips. In an instant, a massive armory of legendary weapons materializes out of thin air to fill the corridor. Stunned onlookers gasp in absolute wonder as the magical armory manifests right before their eyes. The grinning instructor officially introduces the weapon aptitude test and invites them to choose their gear. He recalls that the original novel protagonist wielded a sword but decides a bow fits his hidden elven lineage much better. A sudden whisper from the gorgeous corporate heiress breaks his concentration and sends his heart racing in panic. She excitedly praises his perfect written exam score, believing he deliberately faked his terrible physical performance. Smiling brightly, she suddenly pulls out an exquisite weapon and offers it directly to her legendary savior. The elegant weapon boasts a flawless curvature and radiates a mesmerizing mystical glow from its high tensile metal. Recognizing the priceless Elysium bow, he gasps in shock at her immense wealth and dedication to his success. Warmed by her adorable encouragement, he grips the bow tightly and prepares to unleash his hidden potential. Strange magical energy surges through his body as his hands naturally adapt to the weapon with ancient familiarity. Sparks of raw power erupt from his shoulder as his inherited elven bloodline awakens to dominate the weapon test. A towering figure suddenly blocks the hero path, demanding to know his true deal. The sweating youth instantly recognizes this formidable challenger as the elite cadet Choi Ji-hun. Leaning close, the muscular senior aggressively demands why he is deliberately hiding his true power. He confronts our hero directly about the secret identity of the person who eliminated the terrorist. Pure panic grips the protagonist as he realizes his secret victory over the monster might be completely exposed. The formidable warrior raises a massive weapon to demonstrate the sheer weight of his accusations. He recalls how our protagonist casually swung the giant black iron greatsword with a single hand. Shock paralyzes our hero as the exact details of that chaotic battle are brought back to light. Faced with the legendary low physical scores, the senior demands to know his ultimate game plan. Ji-hun demands to know if the greatsword was actually a distraction to hide his true archery skills. The gorgeous heiress suddenly steps in and fiercely insults the arrogant heir to defend her savior. Tension skyrockets as the heirs of the two most powerful corporate empires prepare to clash right there. Nearby students quickly rush in to hold back the two furious rivals before a full war erupts. This volatile standoff finally breaks as the examiner loudly summons Ji-hun to begin his combat test. Leaving with a parting threat, the muscular warrior warns our protagonist that he is watching his every move. Our relieved hero sweats as he remembers that these two corporate giants were sworn enemies in the original novel. He realizes he must tread incredibly carefully to keep his F-rank facade from completely crumbling. Stepping onto the battlefield, the muscular giant easily lifts the massive black iron greatsword. A high-tech combat android materializes to test the raw power of the elite corporate heir. Heavy metal clashes violently as the warrior blocks the swift incoming strike with absolute ease. With a devastating counterattack, he delivers a massive kick that sends the metallic foe flying backward. With a thunderous roar, the powerhouse unleashes a devastating downward slash that cleaves his target completely in two. Awed onlookers watch in absolute silence, completely terrified by the brutal strength of the wealthy corporate heir. The critical evaluator records the score, noting that his raw power far exceeds his actual mastery over the heavy blade. Ignoring the roaring cheers of the crowd, the stern instructor immediately calls our hidden protagonist to the battlefield. The gorgeous blonde heiress happily whispers a sweet word of encouragement to her legendary savior as he prepares to fight. An imposing examiner with an eye patch looks down at her tablet and immediately questions his legendary triple F rank scores. She sighs in disbelief, claiming that scoring so poorly is practically impossible without deliberately failing on purpose. Our hero ignores her words as the divine blessing of the World Tree suddenly activates the ancient elven memory in his arm. The proctor mockingly challenges him to hit at least one single target set at a distance of 1,000 meters. Her sarcastic expression instantly vanishes as a majestic surge of green elven magic erupts from his drawn bowstring. The magical arrow flies from his hand with a blinding flash of green light. It strikes the distant bullseye with absolute pinpoint precision. Smiling at his success, he realizes the power of the World Tree is now fully integrated into his body. The shocked proctor watches in disbelief as the F-rank student prepares another shot. A second arrow instantly zips through the air toward the same target. Mocking classmates assume he missed because they only see one arrow on the board. The powerful Choi Ji-hun steps forward to mock their sheer ignorance. He sternly commands the foolish students to look closer at the ground beneath the target. The second shot had split the first arrow perfectly down the middle in a legendary display of skill. Absolute chaos erupts in the crowd as they realize they just witnessed a miracle. The gorgeous corporate heiress beams with pride, knowing her savior is indeed a genius. With perfect calm, the young archer draws his bowstring once again. He releases a rapid barrage of glowing arrows at the distant target. Each subsequent shot splits the previous arrow with impossible precision. The final result leaves the entire training hall in stunned and silent awe. The entire crowd erupts in absolute chaos at his legendary back-to-back shots. An intense examiner suddenly grabs his shoulder and bows down to beg for his forgiveness. She blushes heavily while praising his archery skills, making the young hero sense a dangerous presence. He smiles warmly as he feels the immense elven energy settling permanently into his right shoulder. With other students gossiping about his handsome face, the gorgeous heiress worries about his secrets being exposed. Academy entrance assessments finally conclude with thunderous applause from the crowd of new cadets. Our protagonist is completely blown away by the size of the massive luxury room assigned to him. Unwinding from the stressful day, he eagerly strips down to soak away all his fatigue in the bathtub. Meanwhile, a masked instructor knocks gently before stepping directly into the legendary chairman office. An urgent report must be delivered to the surprisingly tiny chairman sitting behind the massive desk. The eccentric young chairman behind the desk greets the masked instructor with a playful smile. The masked elite investigator reveals that the urgent report concerns a very specific cadet named Kong Seal. She immediately recalls his incredible feats of scoring a perfect written exam alongside an outstanding weapon grade. The instructor confirms those facts while the playful leader wonders if this boy is secretly hiding his true stats. She gleefully asks if he is playing the classic game of a hidden badass, only for the instructor to deny it. Pai Jinho explains that the boy's physical strength is genuinely lower than F rank despite his miraculous shots. A brilliant blue light ignites inside the investigator's eye as he mentions his absolute analytical ability. He ponders how a cadet with such bottom-tier physical limits can possess such an overwhelming talent for archery. She suggests he must be a legendary divine archer or perhaps even a master of all weapons. Intrigued by this potential monster, she orders the masked instructor to keep a very close watch on him. Accepting the vital mission, he vows to keep the mysterious freshman under permanent and strict observation. Far from all the corporate and academic schemes, our oblivious hero sleeps peacefully while drooling on his bed. The next morning, an elite professor starts the cadet first lesson on the primary duties of a superhuman. Shin Jaya instantly raises her hand to confidently answer the question before anyone else. Her answer beautifully explains the vital tasks of rescuing innocent civilians and clearing deadly dungeons. Jaya confidently names the third and final duty as the absolute eradication of monsters and villains. Adjusting her glasses, the elite professor confirms the correct answer and shifts the lesson focus toward villains. A wave of tension hits our hero as the instructor suddenly mentions the recent chaotic terrorist attack at the plaza. The main screen displays the fearsome mastermind who managed to effortlessly neutralize several S-rank superhumans. Our young protagonist breaks into a cold sweat as she credits an anonymous savior for stopping a total catastrophe. Feeling a sharp gaze from across the room, he notices his powerful rival watching his every reaction with deep suspicion. The stern warrior narrows his eyes, refusing to let the mysterious freshman out of his sights for even a second. Wiping away his sweat, our hero tries to stay positive while the beautiful blonde heiress cheers him on with a smile. The professor commands the students to put their absolute trust in their guides to ensure their eventual victory. Knowing the exact events of the original story lets our protagonist feel a surge of genuine excitement for the future. Suddenly, an arrogant student loudly boasts that he would have decapitated the terrorist mastermind with ease. Shock paralyzes our hero as he realizes the exact identity of this loudmouthed classmate named Choi Kangam. The obnoxious cadet continues to laugh and make jokes while his classmates dismiss his weird antics as pure comedy. A dark realization hits the protagonist as he recalls the sinister future awaiting this specific side character. The protagonist envisions the horrific bloodbath that this foolish cadet is destined to unleash upon the academy. An elite instructor explains the absolute basics of the ranking system and how even the F rank is split into tiny tiers. Our hero looks back as the teacher emphasizes the massive and unyielding gap between the lowest ranks and the top-tier S ranks. He glances over at the sleeping student who was doomed to die exactly 1 week after the grand entrance ceremony. A sinister villain known as the Doppelganger will soon assassinate the boy and steal his very face to commit mass slaughter. This terrifying monster is the mastermind behind the infamous cadet assassination incident from the original timeline. Resolving to prevent this tragedy, the clever transmigrator rubs his forehead while planning his next critical move. His deep thoughts instantly shatter as the sharp instructor suddenly calls out his name in front of the entire class. An intense evaluator mockingly points a finger accusing the top scorer of slacking off due to his perfect written exam grade. Feeling the heavy pressure of the entire room, our sweating protagonist realizes there is no escaping this sharp gaze. Pai Jinho demands to know the final hidden variable that dictates a superhuman actual rank in this world. With absolute confidence, the brilliant young hero locks eyes with his teacher and delivers the perfect answer of items. Instructor Pai Jinho immediately raises the stakes with a much more challenging question for the cadets. He introduces the legendary S-rank levitation sword possessing absolute power and strict user requirements. He poses a hypothetical battle between a B-rank warrior with an S-rank sword and an S-rank warrior with a B-rank weapon. The arrogant Choi Ji-hun confidently interjects, claiming that a mere weapon can never bridge a 2-rank gap in raw stats. The masked instructor glares coldly at the interruption, instantly silencing the room with his terrifying presence. Ji-hun breaks into a cold sweat as the teacher dismisses his unprompted answer before turning back to our hero. Pai Jinho asks our protagonist if he agrees with the wealthy heir opinion about stat dominance. With absolute composure, Seal disagrees, stating that the superior S-rank warrior is definitely not guaranteed to win. Mocking laughter instantly fills the classroom as classmates mock his seemingly foolish opinion. Ignoring the noisy insults of the crowd, the instructor calmly asks him to explain his logic. Our hero begins to break down the massive performance gap between B-rank and S-rank equipment. He explains that a lower-tier weapon would instantly shatter against an S-rank blade, leaving the top-tier warrior defenseless. The masked elite investigator crosses his arms and confirms the brilliant explanation is indeed correct. The gorgeous heiress beams with joy and gives him a quick thumbs up as the lesson continues. Professor Pai Jinho sternly warns the entire class to never place blind faith in raw stats alone. The motivated cadets shout their understanding in unison before class finally dismisses for the day. Deep thoughts consume the clever youth as he reflects on the nature of this mystical world. Without his original S-rank status window, he must now rely on a completely different set of powers. A massive system error allows him to completely ignore all equipment requirements and wield any weapon. Urgent priorities weigh heavily on his mind as he carefully plans his next move. Spotted in the distance, the doomed loudmouth classmate chats with another student down the hall. Memories of the tragic original timeline urge him to save the foolish boy from the doppelganger menace. Stepping forward, the young hero directly approaches the arrogant cadet and calls out his name. The obnoxious boy instantly sneers at the low-ranking student who insists he has something vital to share. Both students glare back in annoyance, forcing our protagonist to find the right words to save a life. The young hero knows that telling him about his tragic fate directly is completely out of the question. Deciding on an indirect approach, he warns the loudmouth to stay away from the casino this weekend. Though the boy laughs it off at first, he instantly panics upon realizing his secret gambling has been exposed. Rage explodes as the arrogant cadet grabs the protagonist's collar and accuses him of digging into his past. He sneers at the young archer for hanging out with the elite heiress despite having no pedigree or wealth. The jealous loudmouth screams his childish desires directly at the young hero with absolute fury. A terrifying shadow looms behind the bully as the beautiful heiress grabs him with absolute coldness. She effortlessly slams the obnoxious cadet onto the hard floor with a devastating shoulder throw. The deadly warrior instantly turns back into a sweet blushing girl as she checks on her honored ancestor. Seal panics as his obnoxious classmate lies entirely broken in a hospital bed, sobbing in pain. The terrifying influence of the giant myth group family protects the smiling young heiress from any academic penalty. Putting the bully in the hospital successfully alters the timeline and saves him from being murdered at the casino. But the sinister doppelganger will simply choose a different target at the casino unless someone stops it directly. Knowing he is the only one who can stop this impending tragedy, the clever youth prepares to take action himself. His deep thoughts shatter as the masked instructor suddenly matches him against the powerful Choi Ji-hoon for mock sparring. The entire class murmurs with excitement as the teacher commands them to move directly to the official training grounds. Glaring coldly from across the room, his formidable opponent shows absolute contempt for the low-ranking archer. Carrying a massive golden blade, the heavy warrior boasts high durability alongside an overwhelming rank in strength. Holding his simple training bow, our hero realizes his weak physical stats make it impossible to pierce that high defense. Mocking laughter echoes from the spectator stands as the crowd eagerly anticipates a completely one-sided massacre. Stepping onto the arena, the masked instructor calls out our protagonist's name to initiate the uneven mock battle. Instructor Pai Jinho surprises the young archer by handing him a sleek dagger for close-range combat situations. Deeply touched by the silent kindness, our grateful hero accepts the weapon from the seemingly cold teacher. The two rivals step onto the glowing magic arena as the safety barrier activates to prevent any lethal injuries. But the instructor warns that all pain and sensory feedback will still feel completely real during the fight. Silence grips the entire training ground as the countdown begins and Seal mentally prepares his combat strategy. With only seconds remaining, the clever youth opens his eyes with absolute focus to find a way to win this duel. The battle erupts instantly as our hero leaps backward to create as much distance as possible from his opponent. Drawing his training bow with lightning speed, he prepares to keep the heavy warrior at bay with long-range shots. Without warning, the elite powerhouse vanishes from sight and materializes right in front of the shocked archer. A devastating blow rains down, but Seal somehow manages to block the massive golden blade in the nick of time. This unbelievable reaction speed catches the arrogant warrior completely off guard as the clash sends shockwaves. Ji-hoon stands over the fallen hero demanding answers after their brief but intense clash. The powerful warrior narrows his eyes in deep suspicion, wondering how an F rank could block his blow. Dismissing his doubts, the elite fighter looks down at the defeated archer with absolute disappointment. Staring at his trembling hand, Seal deeply feels the massive and overwhelming difference in raw stats. Ji-hoon casually shoulders his massive golden blade, claiming he has no desire to humiliate a weaker opponent. Mocking whispers echo from the crowd as the spectators criticize our hero for his seemingly pathetic display. A sudden surge of pure spite and determination fills the young hero as he grinds his teeth in frustration. Realizing the training arena's safety barrier will prevent death, he decides to risk everything on one final move. With lightning speed, his hand reaches down to draw the sleek training dagger given by his instructor. Unleashing a fierce battle cry, the desperate archer prepares to charge forward against his formidable rival. Shock paralyzes the young hero as a mysterious green aura suddenly erupts around his entire body. Swirling currents of mystical energy envelop the arena, completely cutting off the noisy spectator stands. Warm forest breezes wrap around his body as he recalls his legendary communion with the World Tree. A majestic spirit materializes behind him, instructing the chosen bearer to entrust his body to the wind. Glowing green eyes unlock a powerful ancient path as the young hero prepares to turn the tide of battle. Seal suddenly perceives the crimson trajectory of incoming malice heading straight toward him. Harnessing the green energy around his dagger, he slices directly through the deadly crimson path. Entrusting his body entirely to the wind, he unleashes a spectacular slash to counter the heavy blow. A devastating shockwave echoes as the massive black iron greatsword is effortlessly parried away. Spectators scream in absolute disbelief as a weak F-rank cadet blocks a powerful A-rank giant. The gorgeous heiress beams with pride as her humiliated classmate boils with pure unbridled rage. Even our young hero stares at his training dagger in disbelief, wondering how he pulled off such a miracle. With no time to rest, the furious rival charges forward, forcing Seal to read the wind currents again. Sparks fly during the rapid exchanges of metal, but the archer realizes deflecting these blows is his absolute limit. Feedback from the heavy clash rattles his bones as he realizes his hands would be torn to shreds without the arena barrier. The massive golden blade rains down with absolute brutality, rattling the protective magical shield of the arena. A cold gaze locks onto the battlefield as the masked instructor wonders if this is the absolute limit of our young hero. Ji-hoon screams in pure rage while our young hero suddenly detects a strange instinctual shift within his soul. Realizing the mystical wind originates from his own body, the clever youth rides the slipstream with unbelievable speed. Bypassing the heavy defense, he instantly flashes behind his opponent and drives his dagger against the heavy armor. The entire crowd gasps in sheer disbelief at the miraculous speed displayed by the low-ranking cadet. Gasping for breath, the exhausted youth realizes his physical stats are still too weak to pierce that defensive gear. Seizing the brief hesitation, Ji-hun unleashes a devastating kick that sends our hero crashing onto the hard floor. Official announcements echo across the training ground declaring the heavy warrior as the winner. Spectators whisper in disbelief that an F-ranked cadet could actually survive such an intense clash. Instructors watch in awe, wondering how an archery specialist could possess such high-level dagger skills. She suspects the young hero is hiding his stats, but the masked instructor quickly shuts down the theory. He explains that the boy's muscle movements and raw physical power are indeed at a pathetic F-rank level. The masked teacher realizes that the clever youth must possess an incredibly rare unmeasurable trait. If his base stats ever reach average levels, this genius could easily conquer the global top 10 rankings.